This is R2G Rally Radio. For the latest in on-event rally news.
Here's your 7:15 update on leg 2, day 2 of the Silver Fern Rally. Apologies for being a few minutes late, but the cars have only just exited the last stage, and the later runners are currently, the last few cars, currently making their way in towards Greymouth to the high school for their 60-minute flexi service. So we can just quickly summarise things for you that James Ford, in spite of having an off-road excursion in stage 15 where he's damaged the left front and rear of his Ford Escort, and has managed to maintain his lead of 1 minute and 4.7 seconds over Dean Buist. He started the day at 1 minute 12.6 ahead, so Dean has managed to knock back 7.9 seconds of the overnight advantage that James Ford and Neil Shanks enjoyed. So they're into service now. Marcus van Klink has had a great day. I think from memory he's recorded 6 fastest times during the course of the day today. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, no fewer than 6 to be the fastest driver by some 20 seconds over Dean Buist for the day. And he is 22.8 seconds down on Dean Buist at the end of today. Nathan Quinn, in spite of a brief hazard triggered in one of the last stages of the day, he is now maintains 4th place at 58.9 seconds behind Marcus van Klink. Robbie Stokes up into 5th place now overall at 2 minutes 27 down on Nathan Quinn. And then it's another minute 16.6 back to Jeff Judd. Followed by car 29, Robert Goff and his Escort from the UK. He is in 7th place overall, 36.2 seconds down on Jeff Judd. And then the Chris Rosenberger from Austria in his Tuttle Porsche 911. He's 28 seconds behind Goff. Then we go back another 24.7 to Roger Chilman and his Escort. And similarly mounted, but the local car, Shane Merland, completes the top 10. So pretty much no real change to the overall standings since the lunch break at Kumara after 4 stages on the other side of the Southern Alps. They've done 5 stages on the West Coast side in the Westland region this afternoon, and Shane Merlin completes the top 10, 1 minute 18.8 down on Roger Chilman, and a total of just under 9 minutes, a whisker under 9 minutes behind the rally leader James Ford. So just ripping down the rest of the top 10, Benami Grimes and his Escort is in 11th, followed by Philip Kaduri in the Lancia Stratos. Then Charlie Evans in the Mazda RX-7 is 13th. 14th is Alan Dippy in the Porsche 911. Still a minute 33 ahead of the third Porsche in the field. That's Evgeny Kariv in 15th overall. Our Spanish visitor Daniel Alonso is in 16th, followed by Andrew Siddle. Then comes Grant Shand, then Brandon James, and Ken McDonald completes the top 20, all those in Escorts. And then we move on to the Mazda RX-3 of Scott O'Donnell, who's just got ahead of Richard Spink, who I recall had an indiscretion in one of these afternoon stages. So O'Donnell is now 6.1 seconds ahead of Richard Spink. Then we go back to Ian Dobson in 23rd, then Julian Burley in the Talbot Lotus Sunbeam. David Young is 39th. He's just got ahead of Greeny by 1.5 seconds in the battle for a top 25 position. Steve Cox continues to lead Class A in the Toyota Starlet at 40 seconds down on Greeny. And then we go back to James Ford's dad, Chris Ford, and his Escort, followed by Keith Stewart. Tony Jardine is 30th in the Corolla. Then Merv Hatcher, who actually had a temporary withdrawal this afternoon, but rejoined for the final stage. So he's 31st overall. And then comes Peter Sharmack, who also had a fairly major off-road excursion this afternoon. And he didn't complete the final 2 stages, but that has him in 35th. Overall as it stands at the moment. 32nd. Then we go back to Ali Mackay, then Andy Martin, who unfortunately came to a grinding halt in stage 12 this morning, but has been able to rejoin for the last couple of stages. Marion Evans, of course, was out with a gearbox problem yesterday. Well, he's fighting back, but with all those penalty times or target times, he gets added to his total time. He is way down in 35th place. Ben Howlett in the Chrysler Avenger is 36th. Then comes Bruce Farley in his Datsun 510, B510. And then Joshua Hilton in his Toyota Celica. And another somewhat troubled day for William Midgley in his Corolla. He is the final recorded car in the Silver Fern historic trophy field in 39th position overall. Unfortunately, Darren Snook's car 17 from Australia was out with a mechanical problem which has seen him retire from the rally. So over to the challenge side of things. Well, again, pretty much status quo there this afternoon. Dave Strong has been the fastest driver today by some 11 seconds, 10.2 seconds over Chris Ramsey. Between the two of them, they shared all the stage wins in the challenge. And the upshot of it all is, of course, with Dave's delay with a couple of punctures in consecutive stages yesterday, which have cost him 10 minutes, he is still 10 minutes 22 seconds behind Chris Ramsey, but has managed to get back up to 6th place overall. But Rambo leads in the Corolla with Amy Hudson co-driving, of course, from the Waikato, and they're now enjoying nearly 4 minutes, 3 minutes 58.5 lead over Carl Celeste in the Toyota Levin. Richard Gully from Australia in the BMW E30 is in 3rd place, and again no changes of any note in the overall positions since the last report. But Galley in the BMW is a minute 53 down on Celeste. Then we go back exactly a minute to Phil Thomas from Thailand and his Ford Escort. Austin and Kingsley Jones in the front-wheel drive Subaru Impreza are in 5th place overall, just 3.3 seconds down on Thomas now. Then comes Dave Strong, who's 3 minutes 27 down on the Joneses. And then Daniel Alexander is next, and he is 2 minutes 45 behind Dave Strong. Chris Padden is next at 4.22 further back in 8th place. 9th is Michael Ward in the Toyota Levin. Then 10th is Ed Mulligan. And the last two classified finishers at the runners at the moment, Andrew Lowe in the Toyota Corolla is 11th, and Brian Van Eek from Australia is in 12th place in the Toyota Altezza. And unfortunately, we didn't see Ross Yendel today in his Ford Escort. He's a retirement from the rally due to a transmission problem. Over to the Frond, the 3-day Frond, just 1 day to go there now, and boy, do we have a contest on our hands. Or in fact, we did do when I with one stage to go, because the gap between Stephen Gill and Keith Hamilton was just 1.3 seconds. But as it turns out, Gill has increased that margin on the last stage by 13 more seconds to go to the final overnight halt for these guys. Remember, it's a 3-day rally. So Stephen Gill in the Escort now leads Keith Hamilton in the Subaru GC8 by 14.2 seconds. They're not really under any threat from anyone else, because Peter Light is 14 minutes further back, and Kerry Sloan, who had a delay in a stage this afternoon, is in 4th place now of the 4 runners, still going another 4 minutes 40 behind the Escort of Peter Light. And of course, yesterday we had Tim McDonald have clutch issues, which have seen him sidelined and retire from the rally. On to the Mainland 2-day rally, which concluded today. Great finish there. James Worker has held off charging Josh Keeley in the final stages by 46.5 seconds. Dylan Thompson has secured a podium position, 2nd rally in a row, of course, after his fantastic effort at Whangarei a fortnight ago. This time he was in his Fiesta 2.3 and has come home a minute 31.9 behind Josh Keeley to take 3rd place. He's held off. In fact, he's basically blown away David Clearwater this afternoon. So I'm not quite sure whether the Evo 4 was causing David Clearwater any issues or not, but they were very close. In fact, they were swapping 3rd place earlier on this morning. But Clearwater has finally come home 1 minute 30.3 behind Dylan Thompson. Then we go back to Amy Keeley, 5 minutes 48 further back. Then it's another 9.5 minutes back to Jamie Donaghy in 6th place. And the top 10, there were 10 finishes. Adrian Jones is 7th, followed by Mike Matheson, who wins Class A. Jamie Donaghy wins Class B. Adrian Jones 2nd in Class B. And Mike Matheson wins Class A, with Nigel King in 9th place in his Mitsubishi Lancer after a delay during the day today. And Nigel Eade wins Class E by finishing 10th in the Subaru Legacy. Those that fell by the wayside, where we lost Alan Garrick yesterday due to a mechanical problem. Mark Jackson in the Escort went out in the last stage yesterday, mechanical problem. Unfortunately, Jack Elliott's co-driver was crook during the day, and he had to retire in stage 6. And the only one we've lost today, Rory Lawn, retired at the start of stage 16 with a mechanical problem. Moving on from there to the 4-wheel drive classic rally, well, that's been Ben Huband all the way. He's made the most of running his H6 to be enjoying an 11-minute lead over Tom Milliken in the similar H6 Impreza. And then we move on to the Westland Mainland series. Now, that went right down to the final stage because if you thought the WRC finish in Japan was pretty tight, well, starting the last stage, Clinky and Dean Buist were dead level after the 4 stages that were run that made up this final round of the Mainland series. But as it turns out, Clinky saw Dean off by 6.5 seconds in that final stage. So the final results of this round of the Mainland series, Marcus van Klink beats Dean Buist by 6.5 seconds. James Worker was next, 22.7 behind. Then Robbie Stokes in 4th place, 6.4 further back. Dylan Thompson 5th at 22.5 behind. Stephen Gill 6th at 34.9. Ali Mackay 7th at 25.2. Amy Keeley at a minute 38 further back. 9th to Harry Silcock, who headed off Willie Hawes in the final stage to grab 9th place in his Class B, to understand win Class B. He is 9th, and then 10th Willie Hawes, who was just 0.8 of a second behind Harry Silcock. Carl Celeste 11th today. Then came Josh Silcock, Mike Matheson, Tom Milliken, Brian Green, who Pat Norris and Nigel Eade completed the field for the this round of the Mainland series, with unfortunately Hayden Shakespeare retiring with a mechanical problem after just 1 stage today. So you'll hear some of those names again as we wrap up the Western Clubman's Rally, which of course was run this afternoon, the 5 stages, and the 8 cars that ran there. Graham Ferguson was the all-the-way winner, as you would probably expect. Some stunning times from the West Coast driver. He has headed off Harry Silcock by 3 minutes 26, with Silcock, as I've mentioned, heading off Willie Hawes by just 0.8 of a second to grab 2nd place. Hawes wins Class C there by finishing 3rd. Josh Silcock was next, followed by Eddie Gray. Pat Norris 6th, Rex Ford in the Datsun 180B was 7th, and as I say, Hayden Shakespeare unfortunately retired after just 1 stage. So the final category, of course, to wrap up for you is the Silver Fern time trial, and currently the results after these first 2 days is Dallas Yates and Elise Inga in the Toyota MR2 are on 452 points amassed. Timothy James and John Mulrennan in the Porsche Cayenne 481. And Dave and Tim Bryan in the Datsun 1200 are on 908. So tomorrow, I understand that stage 18 tomorrow has been cancelled. That's the West Coast stage, Cameron's 2 rather. So we're just waiting to find out whether the restart tomorrow will be delayed from its currently scheduled 7 o'clock, because the next stage after the Cameron stage 18, is Lake Linden, which is something like 150k back across the Alps. So we'll keep you posted through the start list as to exactly what time we expect Leg 3 to start. Tomorrow's adventure takes the cruise, as I've just mentioned, back across the Southern Alps to 2 stages before a lunch break at the Mayfield Domain. And then there's 5 more stages as they head into mid-Canterbury to ultimately finish up in the Caroline Bay car park at around 5:30 tomorrow evening for a 60-minute service, and everybody starts their 2-night stay in Timaru. So until, I guess, 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, this is Chris Grant at the Chris Sport results desk, and very much enjoying being with you. Hope you have a safe evening. And of course, the other thing to mention, if those have been out in the field all day, is that Terry Neville has become the World Rally Champion in the drivers section for this year. That became assured when Dwight Tanak crashed off the road a kilometre from the end of the first stage this morning, when he was holding over a half-minute lead over Elvin Evans. So Evans has inherited the win. Sebastian Ogier's finished 2nd. And as the field went into that, therefore, with the demise of Tanak, of course, that swung all attention to the manufacturers. And would you read about it, after 12 rounds and 20 stages, with just a 13k power stage to go, the Manufacturers' Championship was dead level, with Hyundai and Toyota tied on 553 points. And the way it's worked out, by Ogier doing what Ogier always, or has almost always done in his career, heading off Terry Neville by about 1.5 seconds in that final power stage. He and Elvin Evans, by finishing 2nd, have headed off. Hyundai and Toyota have snatched the World Rally Championship for manufacturers for 2024. And also Sami Paiari has done enough by finishing 2nd in the WRC2 to become the WRC2 champion at 22 years of age, heading off Oliver Solberg, who of course had already completed all his point-scoring rounds. So I guess was sitting back in Europe with his fingers crossed that something would happen to Paiari, but unfortunately for him, nothing did, and Paiari is the WRC2 champion for 2024. See you tomorrow. Cheers, Chris Grant here at the Chris Sport Results Desk.